So let it be written, so let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors, Those That Remain. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I am going to start the session with sort of a recap narratively. So if your character wants to do anything during what I'm describing, you may insert that after, but just kind of for like that singleness of effect, I wanted to narrate that sort of like opening scene, but it's going to be happening right in front of you. Before you is a pillar of smoke, a cloud of writhing, splintering wood. It's difficult to see deep into this fog that has rolled in to Ashford. You hear an incredible, loud sound on your left. Like the splintering of a tree. And then on your right, as though stone crumbles, you hear some dust falling. And then the smoke clears at the very forefront, showing one lone figure silhouetted against it. Their eyes glow black, and I do mean black, and there is a glow. Ephraim, you would recognize something eerily familiar about this figure. And then you would see them take an unblighted, perfectly normal Treyarch. This creature of Fae, made entirely of wood. This living creature. It almost looks like a small deer. And then the creature holding this Treyarch pops a blade from their wrist. A blade that you recognize of primordial bone. They take this Scrimblade and they rake it across the throat of the Treyarch. Not cutting, no, playing, toying. And then they set it down. And as it wanders toward all of you, there's a clearing. It gets maybe halfway before this figure raises their other hand and has a crossbow. An arrow pierces through the neck of the Treyarch, killing it instantly. And as you watch this, you see this figure grab a shard of black stone from a satchel. This jet black, jagged stone, holds it aloft, and it flies directly to the center of the Treyarch's lifeless head, driving in this black stone. The Treyarch starts to shake, and in undeath, loses most of its saturation and its color, appearing gray. It then lurches to life with a squelch, appearing as the other blighted Treyarchs. And now you realize that they also have these black stones embedded in their head, and that the Scrimshander does as well. Strange, tearing and scraping winds, like the sound of steel across bone, comes from the fog on the left of you and the right of you, where you hear those loud noises continue. Roll initiative. This is Those That Remain, and we are in combat. If you are not caught up, that was just a sort of a cutscene to introduce and really just kind of get the hype back, really kind of get everybody's blood pumping before starting from a dead stop. We are going to jump right into combat, but who is going to be my initiative helper for this combat? Not Ephraim. He must have rolled really, really badly.
Did you get worse than my one? Do you get
No,
one of
I
the
rolled
negatives?
a nat 1. I rolled a nat 1. I think I have a thing though.
Oh no, guys. I got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling about tonight.
Already.
I have advantage on initiative checks because I'm a Scrimshander. Yeah, baby.
Don't leave me down here by myself.
Sorry. Listen, we'll hang out later, Barker, but I'm going to go up to the top half of the initiative if you don't mind.
James, would you be willing to be my initiative helper, or Barker, and basically put everybody's roles into the initiative there?
Nope, James will do it.
Perfect. And
Dang,
So
Ephraim.
if you want me to do that, you guys are gonna have to put, like the rest of us did, your name and the number.
so, oh wow, all right, great. So that you have a kind of an understanding, there are, well, actually, first, let me handle this. Nate, Garrick was away taking care of something important for his patron. I will let you enter combat whenever you want. It could be that you're cresting the hill right now. It could be at a pivotal moment. If you have any ideas on that, you can share it with me now, or we can just kind of feel it out as the combat plays.
Yeah, I imagine I'm not seeing a lot of what's going on. So I like the idea of cresting a hill so that Garrick can be a little bit shocked.
That's great. That's perfect.
Yeah. And he will do so at the moment his turn on an initiative order comes around.
Perfect. Love it. That's fantastic. The other thing is that you are in Ashford. There are other people around you. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that into account. I'm going to narratively include them in the combat. They will not be in the initiative order, but when we go around, I'm basically going to roll some dice, and that is going to be the amount of essentially soak and hit points that the people of Ashford were able to do to these creatures as well. So you'll have that counting down with you.
And actually, Tim, let me retcon that a bit. I maybe shouldn't be cresting the hill at the moment of my initiative order because I don't want to be 200 feet away from the action.
Sure.
So I'm cresting the hill and my jaw drops and okay, there we go.
And that's perfect. And if you would like to, on your turn, kind of narrate, because you weren't here last session. So if you want to take a minute to say whatever you'd like to say, ramping up to your turn, you can kind of take an extra long turn to re-enter the fray here.
Sounds good.
Perfection. All right. So, Ephraim, you are first in the initiative order, sir.
Which is really convenient because I've completely forgotten how to play D&D, so here we go.
Same.
Same.
Tim, you mentioned that that this figure was potentially familiar to me. Are they familiar to me in a way that I know them, or just that I recognize the blade that they are using?
That's entirely up to you. I will let you call that on the fly. If you want this to be someone you know, I can easily just tell you kind of like who they are. Or if you want it to be that you recognize them because they popped the Scrimblade and that's unmistakable, we can also fly with that.
Yeah, I think it's less likely just because Ephraim hasn't been in the guild that long. He wouldn't know this person by name, but that Scrimblade is unmistakable. And so I would be entirely focused on this figure with the blade. And at the beginning of the combat, when the tree blight or the tree arc showed up, Ephraim, in addition to his short sword, would have popped his Scrimblade, and it sort of emerges out of his wrist, and it's this very sort of jagged and notched, rough-looking blade, very similar like Wolverine before he gets the adamantium on the claws. You know how they look all like bony and barbed and stuff. That's sort of what this blade looks like. And I want to try and close the distance between myself and this other Scrimshander, this undead Scrimshander. How far away from me are they? Yeah,
so it's, in terms of the combat and the distance and stuff like that, I want to keep it fairly narrative, like, and kind of lean and fast. So unless it seems like you'd be really far away from any of these creatures, I'm going to kind of play it fast and loose with distances. So just assume that they're within range unless I say, hey, I don't think they're in range. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
And that way, because I feel like it's pretty tight quarters and you're going to be in this, I'm imagining it as being this sort of alley where on your left, there's a bunch of Fey-Gray forest, and on your right is sort of like the back of Ashford, like as you kind of came out of the tavern. So, I kind of want to like Lord of the Rings, Helm's Deep, the distances. So yeah, totally. You can get to them.
Okay, so I think what I would like to do is... Oh, do I not have... Wait, when do rogues get the thing where they can do a hide as a bonus action? Oh my gosh, how do you play D&D?
Third level or second?
I think you should have it. Yeah, I should have it,
shouldn't I?
You should have cunning action.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So basically what I want to do is I want to... I would love to use these woods that you mentioned as cover. Either that or if the buildings are scalable, just like clamber up on these buildings, either using like boxes, crates, like gutters, whatever I can. Basically, I want to try to get out of sight if I can.
You absolutely can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an opposed roll if, basically if you're trying to hide, then give me some sort of roll for that, because this is a very, sort of astute person.
Totally.
So you're specifically trying to hide from that scrim, right? Yeah. Everybody,
yes, specifically, I'm trying to stay out of line of sight of them, but ideally I would be hidden from most of these enemies if possible. So I rolled an 8 on the die. I have plus 8 to stealth. Jesus. Nice. So 16 total.
Scrimshanda, baby.
Scrimshanda.
Yeah. So this Scrimshander is sort of enraptured in this scene that they have purposefully kind of tried to theatrically press before you, and they're kind of wrapped up in that. Certainly not expecting another scrim, so you're able to do that.
Okay. So I instantly just reflexively almost dart out of sight, moving to my right. I sort of clamber up a pile of crates, grab onto a gutter, and easily just haul myself up and land sort of in a crouch on the top of the tavern that we just came out of. And I move to the edge of this building, and I'm going to look for an easy target, and I want to try and drop on him and do an attack here if I can.
Definitely. So what you can see is, as you are kind of trying to peer through the smoke, there are few different kinds of these Trearchs, and one specific Scrimshander. You can see one very large Trearch next to the Scrimshander, like just behind. But apart from that, you can pick, because Trearchs can be humanoid, they can look like, lupine or ursine or basically any animal. There are several that look, I say several. There are a few that look humanoid, and one of those is close to you. Then there are a few that sort of look more like a writhing tangle, less of a structure. Another one of those is also next to you. Those are the Trearch Gray Eaters are sort of like the bigger, like more jumbly ones, and then the Gray Spores are like the humanoid ones.
Okay, I'm going to target one of these humanoid ones then, and try to jump on him for an attack.
Perfect.
So that's my move, and then a bonus action with cunning action to hide, and then rest of my movement and an attack action on top of this guy.
Perfect.
So I'll have advantage on this since I am hidden.
Love it.
So 14 on the die. I'm using my Scrimblade. So that's 20, dirty 20.
Ooh, nice. That does absolutely hit.
Okay. So I get to roll. Okay. Ooh, I get to re-roll this one because of my blade in the back ability.
Nice.
So that gives me a total of 9, 12, 16 piercing damage, which is also magical because of my Scrimblade.
Nice.
On this tree arc.
So you don't dispatch it, but describe to me what it looks like as you nearly destroy this thing.
So, like I said, Ephraim just disappears at the start of this battle, and there might even be a moment where some of my companions might be like, where did Ephraim go? And as soon as they think that, I'm leaping off of this building like Assassin's Creed style with this bone blade coming out of my wrist, and I land on the back of this humanoid tree arc and just, in a practice motion, slide the Scrimblade where, if it was a human, its spine would be, essentially trying to sever the spine. And the reason why I don't kill it is because it doesn't have a spine. And so I do this an insane amount of damage and basically drive this thing to the ground, pull out my blade. And then as I stand up, I kind of have this triumphant look on my face. And then this thing is just like getting back up. And I'm like, oh shit. Like I forgot that this is not just like a person that I can just dispatch so easily. So kind of in a bad position, but that will be the end of my turn.
Love it. And Kathleen, as you see, as basically as Ephraim described, you just see him sort of leap. You probably don't even see him disappear, but you just see him. What are you doing now?
Kathleen, as the mist rolls in, immediately she is on alert. Having lived in the gray, and hearing that ominous voice, for a moment she had a thought of fear, but immediately anger and determination basically wells up, and she just narrows her eyes and puts her hand onto the hilt of her sword, and she's just ready. The moment she sees Ephraim's knife comes down, if you allow it, I would love for her to run up. She has her hand on her hilt, and she's just ready to pull it out and just swipe up, hopefully hitting.
Absolutely.
Attack.
I will give you advantage on that attack because this creature is reeling and shambling back up to try to strike at Ephraim. So I will absolutely give you advantage on that attack.
Awesome. Let's see. Dang. 10. 11. Oh,
Okay, well, hey, so, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So that does
Okay,
not...
So 13.
So here's the way I'm going
Yeah.
to say it. I'm actually going to change it up. It does hit narratively because not every missed roll...
It was 15 total? From what?
I didn't know.
Oh, definitely add your attacks.
Plus 2. Oh,
Yeah, it's a +4.
goodness.
I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure because she said just the number on the die.
Yeah. So, okay.
Then
I
you
just-
absolutely hit. Tell me...
So, yeah, 15.
Okay, and then how much damage do you deal from that hit?
Okay. 1d8 plus 2.
Oh, buddy.
It is also Huh?
I said, oh, buddy.
Oh, buddy. Thank you, James. So 6 plus 2, and because she is a dueler and she is using only one blade and one hand, it is another plus 2 bonus damage.
Yes.
So awesome. Oh my gosh, math. 10.
That is just enough. That is just enough. You actually had one over. I'll give you that. That is just enough. Describe to me what it looks like as Kathleen destroys this blighted Treearch gray spore.
So Kathleen focuses her one good eye on this thing as she sees Ephraim starting to reel back as the creature's trying to lumber back to its feet. And immediately she darts in, putting her hand right onto her hilt and absolutely leaning in. A nice, beautiful lunge as a fencer would. She just whips it right out, and its head just goes flying off.
And if I could, there's this moment of like silence, and we're just kind of looking at each other, and Ephraim just kind of gets this like, hell yeah, and he goes, "Good to have you back."
It's good to have another one-eyed buddy.
I love it.
Eye patch gang. Hashtag
Somebody
eye
else
patch
that can
gang.
understand.
Everybody else needs to put out their eye or you're not in the club.
You're not a part of the club.
At this dwarf that looks like they might have been an Ardor formerly, in this gruff voice that sounds like they're speaking with the voice of others, points, as this is very clearly happening, points and says, "Stop them now." All right, next in initiative order is Garrick. So Garrick...
Tim, was that one who just spoke? Was that the one Matt is engaged with? Or
No, so Matt's engaged with like this, like sort of like mute. Well, they're dead now, but it's like this sort of. Think of him as like
Nobody no more.
Gotcha.
Like a tree person that really doesn't talk. It's more of like a fey creature, like a I can't remember what they're called in D&D.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's
no, you're good.
They're called a tree ant, Tim.
then in,
Or if not Triarchs in Dragongrin, they're called something. Okay.
then Nate, the person who spoke, was the Scrimshander, this sort of like the ringleader, kind of in the middle.
Yep. Gotcha. All right, cool. So yeah, Garrick, I imagine, has like crested this hill just moments before. And there is a steep bank. There's a path down to the town, but there is a steep bank, and that is the fastest way. Garrick is, dirt on his hands and has just felt like he's just getting cleaned up. He's been carrying out a ritual for his patron as a favor. Not necessarily for his patron, but at the behest of his patron, for a powerful being here in this part of Dragongrin. And he doesn't quite understand what he's been asked to do, but he's carried out the ritual. He's earlier in the day had to gather certain plants, had to arrange them in a certain way, and there was a ritual sort of burning. And he's been reflecting on this and wondering, what did I even do? What did that even matter? Confused and just kind of in his own head, but seeing the chaos as he crests the hill, immediately snaps out of it and hearing the voices rising, forgets the road ahead and does a steep, just kind of down this dirty bank. And, just, that dirt in your boots feeling, it's the worst, but doesn't even care, guys. Doesn't even care if he's getting dirt in his boots.
Big deal.
So he's sliding down this hill and it's just utter chaos before him. And he runs into the fray, picks up his quarterstaff, this gnarled piece of wood that he carries. And immediately I would just target the nearest Triarch with a Eldritch Blast if there is one anywhere near me.
Yeah, there is. So you have range of several. There are kind of like larger ones that seem to be more of a tangled mess, a bit larger creatures, and then there are humanoid ones. You have your free choice of either of those, and you could possibly even hit the Scrimshander or the large Triarch that seems to be their pet or their mount.
Mm-hmm. I would say, I'm just going to say for this turn that I can't even see the main, maybe hub of it yet. And maybe I can't even see my companions yet. There's maybe some houses. I'm coming through an alleyway. I know there's a fight going on, but I'm just going to target, any old peon essentially.
Yeah.
Not that any of them are, but
no, that's perfect. So you see that
and-
that humanoid gray spore would probably be that peon.
Perfect. Yeah. So that is going to be not great. That's going to be a 12 to hit with my Eldritch Blast.
So that just misses.
Yeah. So I imagine I, am still just kind of shaken, and I let this blast go, and then miss. This creature turns to me, and I quickly just kind of press up against the wall of the nearest structure. Just like, is it me?
And as you do so, the creature sort of disappears into the mist a little bit. There's this rolling mist that's sort of like ebbing and flowing around these creatures, but you find yourself back against the wall, and you hear this loud sort of like, and you feel cold, and you feel like what it was like for just a moment. You have this flash of being crucified and touching death, and then you sort of look down, and similar to nothing else you've ever seen is this strange chunk of black rock stuck into the wall. And you see this faint sort of white gray outline encircling where this jagged black crystal is stuck into the wall. And it's maybe the size of like a basketball or a football or something like that. But you can see that what it's doing is it's sort of almost as though it's trying to rip something or break something, and you could almost see this gray, colorless aura surrounding it as it sort of like digs further into the wall, and you can see this sort of this colorless crack is kind of forming around it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would probably just kind of slide down if this is a little bit lower, and just kind of give it a look, but I don't dare touch it or anything. Yeah.
It reflects nothing. It drinks in light, and even though it seems to shimmer, when you look in it, maybe for half of a second, you might think you see a reflection, but it's your own skeletal dead face, and then nothing.
Matt's face.
And now it is the Triarchs and the Scrimshander's turn. So Garrick, that gray spore stalks from out of the smoke and comes up to you and charges just absolutely faster than you thought that tree could move, almost as though there was frames missing. And it just makes 2 sweeping attacks at you. First one is a 16.
That hits.
Okay. Second one is an 11.
Miss.
Okay. So you take 6 slashing damage from this creature as it just rakes across. Where does it hit you?
I imagine it's right across my arm, and Garrick probably would just lunge back out of the way. He'd probably been trying to hold his quarterstaff up, but it just right over it.
I love it. Isca, I don't know how close you've gotten to the fray or where you would be, but I feel like one of these creatures, one of these larger creatures, has just started stalking towards you, started sort of maybe circling you. Do you have any idea of where you'd be at this point?
I think the moment Ephraim darted away, Isca would have as well. Probably backing up a little bit, kind of getting a lay of the land. And after seeing the few things that have transpired, he would, and especially seeing this other Triarch sort of beginning to stalk him, he would begin to sort of square up to it and circle with it, kind of taking slow steps as it does the same, sizing each other up.
Yeah.
And suddenly Isca would begin laughing, walking, and starts laughing at this thing, and his bones, begin to break and crack, and metal begins sort of jutting out of him. And Isca turns into what's called a stalker, an arcanic, so a bronze and metal arcanic beast, basically. And he continues walking and in a different fashion on all fours, still staring at this thing, getting ready to attack. That's my action, so I don't also do that. But
welcome to Dragongrin, folks. Circle of the Arcanatrix Druid.
Did you just turn into a robot, dude?
I just turned into a robot, dude.
Holy crap!
Like the guy in the movie cracks his neck.
Oh crap!
So
is big.
I love it, and I think so. I think the reason why, partially why you're laughing, is because as you slink away, like Ephraim said, as he did, and you kind of did your own, you're stalking from tree to tree, and then you back up against one of these trees, and you feel. And then you kind of turn, and the tree that you backed up against is actually one of these creatures, and it starts circling off with you. So what it does specifically is it wastes no time and tries to just swallow you whole. It tries to engulf you entirely. Okay. That's a 12 on the die. No, sorry, 12 all up.
Oh man, my wild shape AC is different. Oh, 10. No, you definitely got me.
All right. So the you are now trapped inside of this, like, it went like, but it's got, you're huge, this creature. So it's kind of got part of you, maybe your forepaws or your head in there. And basically, while you're trapped, you're blinded and restrained. And you're going to take 14 acid damage at the start of each of your turns. So not yet, but if you don't get out.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, yeah.
Cool. So another one of these creatures, these kind of larger ones, gets up on all fours, and then Diggs, tell me where you're at and kind of what you're doing. I was going to have one of these other creatures sort of square off of you, but I just wanted to get a sense.
I'm right in front of this thing.
Awesome.
I'm still in the place where I heard that they were coming for Kathleen. I'm still in the place where I, gave my little one-liner, and I think I'm staring this weird, wicked thing down.
Perfect. And you are, and it is surprised by that, because even though it has eyes and mouths all over it, it stands up as a black bear would stand up, and it expects the prey to back down. And when you sort of just get face to one of its faces, it doesn't know what to do and sort of hesitates for half of a second. And it also tries to just grab you with every bit of its rooted maw, this huge mouth. Looks like a original 80s Ghostbusters cartoon.
Awesome. Stop motion. Oh, no, not stop motion. That would be, what's the word for it?
Oh, like claymation.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
Or stop motion.
I was thinking of like the way they did the ghosts in Ghostbusters. That wasn't stop motion. That was animated.
It looks like that. I probably a mixture of both.
Cool.
I would guess.
Listen, I was there. I know how they did it.
Busted that.
I was born on the set of Ghostbusters.
Does a 16 hit you?
Oh, the 16 hits me.
Okay. So because you were not basically, well, you're pretty large as well, but I'll say that this thing is able to basically you're trapped inside of it, And
yeah, this thing overpowers me, right? Would you say that it kind of leaps on top of me and just
Sure.
kind of engulfs me like a cage?
Yeah, like absolutely. You're blinded and restrained, so you have those two conditions. But you have total cover from other attacks. But you'll take 14 acid damage at the start of your next turn. Unless you get out. All right. And then
So now we're at the start of my next turn. No, we're not. But I'm coming around.
And then finally, I would say that one of these other smaller, these like gray spores, one of them would probably stalk toward Ephraim and Kathleen and rake their claws at Kathleen and just trying to sort of... And they attack twice. 16. First one is a 21.
Holy cow.
Second one is a 10.
Okay, first one definitely hits.
All right, so it goes for 6 slashing damage. Where does that hit you?
Let's see. As Kathleen is standing back up, her sword lowering to her side, she starts to turn and can just see it out of the corner of her eye. But as she turns around, trying to lean back, those claws just rake one of her shoulders as she tries to then move out of the way and get some distance.
That's perfect. And so, finally, this Scrimshander takes a couple of steps back and mounts this large Treyarch that almost looks about the size of a bear, maybe. And they don't charge anyone. They sort of just circle the battle, just waiting for things to occur, watching, surveying, watching as Ephraim and Kathleen surveying these enemies. They are a seasoned scrim and they don't need to hide. Isca.
So, I misunderstood and took my turn, I think, on your turn.
No.
So
You're
Isca
fine.
wild
I kind of I kind of did it. Yeah, I did that on purpose. I was trying to engage everybody and kind of do that. So that's totally fine. Like, I understood what was happening there.
No, and that's cool. I guess that's what I'm saying is I took my turn in effect. Then I did my action, and I'm, you know what I mean. So like, that's fine basically. So we don't have to do my turn now. We can go to Diggs because I took mine. We just switch it up. Yeah,
totally. That's totally fair. I will. What I'm saying is too is that I will also let you have done that for free. That's fine. Like narratively.
Oh, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I'll try and attack this thing. Yeah.
So then you have a turn, So I don't just.
Yeah, because I have. Well, that's what I mean. I wild shaped, which is an action, and I'm like, well, you kind of got to get that. You know what I mean? You get that out of the way, and then you do the next part.
And you got it out of the way while it ate you. So
Diggs is gonna get killing the Treyarch in front of him out of the way. Also, just smashing its face in. Just one.
Just one.
So 21 and 11. I have multi attack. I'm assuming the first one hit and not the second one.
Actually, so,
I'm attacking the thing that I'm inside of.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so you actually do hit with both.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. So here's the trick, though. One thing that I think you missed is
is the blinded and restrained.
Yeah, you're blinded and restrained. So what you need to do is basically here, and I'll read you what the restrained action is by looking it up on D&D Beyond.
It means your movement speed is 0.
Perfect.
You have D&D Beyond. You continue.
No, yeah, you nailed it. Movement speed is 0. Attack rolls against you have advantage, and you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. The stat block doesn't say how you need to get out. Oh, never mind. It says if it dies, the creature within it is freed. So yeah, so you basically
But I am blinded, which probably gives me disadvantage. That's the big one.
Right. So
I need to roll my attack rolls again, right?
No, you just can't move. No, you're fine. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You are blinded. I'm wrong. You're right. So basically,
no, I'm just restrained.
You can't. You automatically fail any ability check that requires sight, and then attacks roll against you have. You're right. Advantage against you,
so
and your attack rolls have disadvantage.
gotcha. Okay, so I rolled an 11 and a 21. So I'm going to roll the alternate for the 21 first, which was a miss. And an alternate, for the 11 to see if I get lower. And I got a natural 20 on a disadvantage roll. So I missed both of my attack rolls, actually. But I did get a natural 20 on a disadvantage.
Well, didn't you roll an 11? You didn't hit at all?
No, I did, right? So I rolled the 21 and 11, and
Okay.
those were my 2 attacks. And then upon realizing I was a disadvantage, I'd get disadvantage on both. So I rolled my second die for the first one.
Got it.
Missed.
Got
And then
it.
the second die for the second one and missed.
Got it.
Because I got unlucky and got the high number on it. Yep. But yeah, so no, I'm writhing around inside of this thing and trying to avoid the acid damage. But we'll get them next time, Coach.
And somebody better get you out of there, because I don't know how many hit points this guy has.
Right? Yeah. No. It's gonna be tough.
So yeah. All right. And then, is there anything else you want to do on your turn?
No. I think that's good. I think I'm.
Can you describe what it looks like? What it looks like right now for your character? What's going on?
No, that's okay.
He's just in an acid blender.
Yeah.
I was just imagining it like his mechanical arms, just like, like what?
That's why I didn't want to describe it. There's no way to do so with dignity, I think.
I'm absolutely
Without
dying
dignity.
over the mental image of this, like, you turning into a robot and then, like, just immediately getting completely taken out of the fight. You're just like,
Right, yeah.
okay, I'm inside
You're
a tree
good at
now. Like, that's my life.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. So next is Diggs.
If Diggs wasn't already sobered up from the partying just moments before and the celebrating that Kathleen had returned to the party, he's definitely sobered up now. Diggs has an uncanny ability to predict the weather. It comes from his Grimdal heritage and his time in Jahar. This fog, this mist, he didn't predict this. And that only can mean one thing, that it can mean 10,000 different things. He has no idea. He's standing in front of this strange, twisted creature of dead, necrotic bark and flesh and sinew and madness. And he hears the words that he just uttered reverberate through his mind. Over my dead body. And it seems that the creature has obliged, because almost immediately, in one fluid motion, Diggs is on the ground, and thunk, this tree trunk jams to his right, thunk, to his left, thunk, between his legs, thunk, left, right, imprisoning him in this tree and slowly but surely growing over him. The acid, is that what's blinding me, Tim?
Yeah, let's say yeah. So what it would probably be is until the actual acid like floods in there, this necrotic sort of bile, I would imagine, let's say it's the fumes. Like these like really just like, eye-watering, can't even keep your eyes open fumes.
Like sporous, kind of just
yes, totally.
Just like around at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Diggs would think in this moment, well, okay, over my dead body then. But Diggs won't give up so easily. Diggs, blinded, can't move. He's going to put all of his power and effort behind pushing this thing off of him with his massive strength. It's not an attack. I think this is just a strength check.
Okay.
Did we start with inspiration?
I don't remember. I would say, so for me, last session...
I usually default to no with Dragongrin.
I was going to say, I would say last session, there were at least a few opportunities where I would have granted inspiration. If I didn't, that's my bad as a DM. Probably because at con and I wasn't thinking about it. But there were several moments rewatching that video. So I would definitely give you some inspiration.
Wasn't that good? That session was so good a second time.
It was great. It was really great.
Cool. I'm going to use my inspiration. that you just gave me.
Perfect.
To roll with advantage here on the strength check.
Okay.
Maybe athletics. Like I'm Diggs is back in time, like as maybe he's like in Jahar and he's lifting a massive stone off of the entrance to a pyramid to help excavate it.
Oh, yes.
And he's just back there in this moment.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah, didn't need the advantage. Let's see if I get a nat 20. No. That's a total of 23. 19 plus 4.
Okay. Yeah, you make it. This thing rolled a 7.
Nice. So I don't know if they're going to grow back, but I just assume that the legs that just punctured into the earth around Diggs, trapping Diggs to the ground, are snapping one by one. And he throws this thing over his back, and now it's behind him. He's prone. It's behind him. It's on its back, and he's going to use the rest of his turn to stand up and wipe the fumes from his eyes.
That's perfect. Roll me a d6.
What does a 1 get me?
This thing gets 1 hit point of damage done to it as you throw it off. It kind of just was not expecting that. The broken branches were dead and brittle, and that's how it was you were able to just like, but then you got to that one part, that living part. If you've ever tried breaking the branch off of a tree, and it's maybe the size around of like, an inch, and you're like, oh, and then you get to that one last piece, that bark, that fresh, beautiful white tree that you just have to twist. That was you, and as you're breaking, you just, and you twist this thing around, and you hear it sort of, and land. That's awesome. Killer, is there anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
He spits in his hand and he wipes the spit in his eyes to clear them.
Nice. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Ephraim, what you doing, boy?
So Ephraim is standing there with Kathleen, and we're sort of getting surrounded by these like smaller humanoid triarchs who I imagine are kind of shambling towards us and like dragging their, root and branch limbs behind them, very zombie-esque. Very quickly getting surrounded by these things. And so I would kind of like shoot a look over at Kathleen, like this kind of like alarmed, like, oh, we got ourselves in some hot water here. And then I see Isca kind of like amble by as like a mechanical beast, and then immediately just disappear as this tree just basically goes, oh, and just like a frog just eats him. And I look at Kathleen and I go, a tree just ate Isca. Did you see over there? Did you see that? We got to go help him.
Just kind of stare at it. She's unimpressed. I don't think the tree's going to be able to digest that.
I don't know anything about trees eating people. He might already be dead. We got to go check it out.
And he's metal though? Is he still a person?
I don't know what's going on. I'm going to like kind of attempt to charge through the fray, and it's this very like cinematic, like I'm sort of like both swords just kind of like hacking my way through, not trying to down anybody, but more just like chopping through like foliage to get to where I need to go. And Tim, you can let me know if I get any opportunity attacks against me here as I'm like charging through. But
I would say especially because of the fog and like kind of that mist, it's like it's a big blur. Everybody's trying to slash and hack.
Okay, cool. In that case, I kill every single one of the ones that I hit.
Done.
On the way there. No.
Session over. Let's do a denouement.
There's actually a moment where I come up on one of these larger, you said they're kind of like these like just like writhing masses of roots and branches and stuff. And I sort of like have to duck and roll as it kind of like slams one of its limbs down. And I come up just like covered in dust. And then I see the tree that consumed Isca, and I am finishing my move. I come up to it, and I'm just going to try and put both blades into this tree and hopefully not pierce and kill Isca at the same time.
Well, he is blind and unable to move. So,
yeah.
So here's
hang on. Yeah, my attacks against him have advantage, actually. So,
Isca Bob.
Sorry. Yeah, Isca.
Yes.
Hey. This first attack is going to be with my short sword. This is my main hand. That's a 15 on the die, plus 7 is a 22 to hit.
Hits. Yep.
Okay, so that'll be 9 damage on that first attack. And then with my offhand, bonus action to use the Scrimblade. Both of these, I don't know if this applies to him, but both of these weapons have the magical property, so they're bypassing any non-magical resistance or immunity. The second attack is a 7 on the die, plus 6 for 13.
That also hits.
Okay, awesome. That'll be 1d6 plus 4, another 9.
Nice. So this creature was not anticipating this at all and was shredded. You basically, it's not dispatched, but explain to me what it looks like as you, not quite free Isca, but this tree is just, you rack into it. What does that look like?
So I kind of leap at it, and I use the short sword as essentially like a climbing spike. I just like stab it into the tree, and I'm just hanging onto it, and I come back with my Scrimblade, and I'm just stabbing in. And as soon as I can get any amount of bark and pulp away, I yell in, I'm like, Isca, I'm gonna get you out of there! And I just keep stabbing.
I love that. Is there anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
No, I'm good. That's it.
All right. So that is Kathleen.
All right. So, what is coming towards Kathleen as Ephraim is fighting his way valiantly to Isca?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think perhaps you may have caught the attention of the Scrimshander. I believe that it starts to realize, and you see this grin sort of rise on the dwarven face, just this sly, and this Scrimshander is mounted on top of this very large tree-arch, blighted. And you see the Scrimshander's face used to be human. But Kathleen, you would recognize this very much as someone who has spent time in the gray, the Wailing Gray. But something's off. This is almost like you know what it felt like, you know what you saw in there, but this is different. It's almost like it's been forced or accelerated. It just doesn't look the same as someone who withers away in the gray. And so this large mount stands before you, and this Scrimshander grins, and you're facing off as this smoke sort of plumes around you, and you're basically just staring at each other.
So Kathleen looks up at this insidious dwarf atop this blighted tree-arch, and she casually kind of rolls her wrist, flicking the blood off of her rapier and kind of sizing them up. And I would love to do an insight check as a fighter to see... let me see, actually. Where is it? Dragongrin. Holy cow. To basically see his skills, see through any bluffs, and see just how strong this guy is.
Yeah, absolutely. So
if I could find it.
Yeah. So so specifically, you're trying to see like how powerful they are?
There's a class ability, I think, for the fighter. She's trying to find it in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Like kind of like you can figure out their AC or like figure out their that kind of thing.
I had it already.
No, and so no, it's fine. While you do that, I'll tell you this. Anyone nearby, especially. Okay, and can you read it to me again?
Yeah. You gain an insight skill if you don't have it already, and you roll wisdom or insight checks with advantage to determine the skill of another warrior and to see through bluffs.
Perfect. So go ahead and roll.
Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
He said roll a check.
Okay.
Yep, and you're going to use your insight, but didn't it say you get to roll it with advantage? So you can roll twice and take the highest number on the die and then add your insight skill to it.
Okay. $12.
Okay. You see that there is a lack of weaponry on this Scrimshander minus its crossbow, which it dropped in the middle of the battlefield. So that seems strange to you. You also note the Scrimblade that it had that was protruding from its wrist, but upon closer look, you can see that there are these sort of black shards jutting out from it. And as it sort of, as it comes up to you, you see one of these shards sort of like quiver. Maybe a few of them quiver. And so you think that potentially these could be harmful, maybe even projectiles.
Good. Okay. I think she would look at Ephraim and Isca and where everyone is and just, I guess, shout, be careful with those black crystals. They look like they move. I'm not quite sure yet. And rather than taking on a giant tree that is lumbering and slow moving, I think she is going to actually go run towards Isca and Ephraim. Or
yeah.
Yep,
that's correct. Yep, and you may do so, and you may basically arrive there and do anything you'd like in terms of that. Like I said, the movement's very narrative, just to keep things nice and fun and cinematic. So.
She would instead put her rapier back into its sheath and instead pull out her hand axes and start to hack in at that tree.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
and you would see Ephraim is just like hanging onto this thing like it's a rodeo, and he's just like stabbing into it as you're hacking with it with your axe.
You're like, and Isca, goodness gracious, all you hear is like, Isca, we're coming. So go ahead and roll those two hand axe attacks for me.
All right, the first one's a 7. So
Cassie has missed the dice tower every single
I don't understand.
time to roll that, and I wasn't gonna bring it up, but literally like 6 times.
As he's tossing bricks, he's over on the court tossing up bricks.
You have the power to dunk,
the house
Cassie.
of all them.
Don't try to finger roll. Come on.
I know, right? The
Okay.
power to
It went in
dunk.
and
Use
you
the
actually did a good
backboard.
job. Oh my god.
okay,
Use the
14
glass, what the hell?
plus 4. So we got an 18 to hit.
That does hit.
And it's a D6 slashing. Yeah, good luck finding that. It is a 6. Awesome.
All right.
So 6 damage. Her second axe actually finds some purchase, and you can see it just with a couple thunks. She's just taking chunks out of it.
Ah, that's amazing. And this creature is just in shambles, and you can see Isca in there as pieces start to break away. Like you could see this, and you could see Isca still in there, and maybe even Isca, you like reach your hand out, like you're like, you get one hand out and they can kind of see your eye, and you're getting closer, but this thing is just still not quite there. And then after Kathleen is Garrick.
So Kathleen, what does she look like? Is she wearing a hood, or?
She has. Oh man, I actually have art working on her. She has an eye patch on one side. Her skin is tinged gray from being in the Wailing Gray, and she just has her hair back in like loose ponytail, light armor.
Yeah, so I imagine that just taken a hit from this Treyarch, and I'm kind of back against the wall, and I, kind of getting my bearings, gauge of my surroundings, and I catch you out of the corner of my eye, and I just kind of think, no, that looks familiar, but that, something strange there. And I am going to, I'm going to cast Armor of Agathis to try to protect myself here. And where did it go? I had a thing. Just a moment. Okay. So, see how that works here. Yeah, so I just kind of, I imagine I grasp my staff and close my eyes for just a split second. And I feel this surge of magic coming from my staff, and this kind of protective force just around me, kind of engulfs me. And I think I will... Yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to be able to do on my turn, actually. Let me just make sure I don't have anything that I can do as a bonus action, because this Treyarch is, I think, in melee range with me, so I'm not going to try to... Actually, no, I am going to move. I'm also going to move toward the fight and provoking an opportunity attack.
Okay, so you'll provoke an opportunity attack from that, and that would be... Okay, that's a 17 all up.
Okay, that is a hit, and the Treyarch takes cold damage, 5 cold damage as it hits me.
That's fantastic. Do you want to narrate that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, so I just have this force. It's not visible to anyone else, but I feel it around me. And as I just kind of spin and pivot out of the way, running toward the fray of the main fight where I've seen Kathleen, but it can't be Kathleen. It hits me in the back, and I hardly even feel it, I imagine, at first. But I kind of feel this force of leave me from the back maybe for a moment before I actually feel the hit.
I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. And this thing is very, very surprised. And like you say, how it's cold, it's like there's, just this sort of... maybe these crystals of ice that are like reaching up further than it would even have thought. This thing just went to hit you and lost an arm, basically. And so it does sort of reel back. Now it is the Treyarchs and the Scrimshander's turn. So the Diggs, you had described that you were prone, right? You said that specifically.
Hey, Tim, first,
Damn it.
how much damage did I take? Sorry.
Oh, yes, 6.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I did say I was prone, and I'm super down with that. I also took the 14 acid damage without comment. I didn't even mention that because I did start my turn.
So, and that's totally fair. The reason why I didn't do that at first, you could totally take that. The reason why I didn't do that at first is because I didn't do it to Isca. And after I let him take like that sort of like double turn, I didn't want to then turn around and say, and you take 14 acid damage.
No, I understand. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to put it to the Fates.
Okay.
If the Fates really, really want me to take this damage, I'm going to roll 1 through 3 on this D12. I rolled either a 6 or a 9 because there's no bottom. Yeah, that's the Fates were kind.
Okay. I'm down with either one, but I just wanted to tell you why I didn't hit you with that, especially because you were also very creative with escape. I didn't want to be like, and you take 14 acid damage on the way out, butthead.
I actually forgot. Oh my god, butthead. I actually forgot to throw this thing through a window narratively also. So that's a thing. It's a fair exchange.
Fair point.
Not my turn. But I am prone.
Okay, killer. So basically, this other one of the smaller Trearchs, this Trearch Gray Spore, sees all of that happen, sees you break free and flip its kin, and sort of skitters over and just starts claw. Now, these are made with advantage because you are prone. So, first one is does an 11 hit you?
No.
And then I have a 17.
The 17 does.
All right, 6 damage.
Oof.
Oofy doofy. And then,
I'm sorry, you said 6, right?
yes, sir.
Wow, that was real fast turnaround for forgetting what you said. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's totally okay. No, it's totally okay. And then I think
You
that
forgot it as he was saying it.
that's
Like he was telling me what his name was, and I had never met him before.
I love that. I'll also rule that the bigger the gray eaters, the Trearch, the big shambly one, I will say it was definitely also prone because you flipped it onto its back-ish. So it takes its turn to get up and then sort of square off with you again. So luckily for you, you flipped it and did that damage, or else it would have been able to try to eat you again. And then you hear another strange sound that's sort of like voice within voices within voices. And it just says, "Protect the crystals at all costs. And get me, Kathleen." And now it is Isca's turn. And you do take 14 acid damage immediately. And I'll let you narrate that. I was going to say, I'll let you narrate that because I know that there's a lot going on in there. So you tell me. So what do you want to do?
Your body's changing. I understand. There's a lot going on. No, so the funny thing is that my wild shape has 13 hit points. So Isca, as this acid begins eating at him, you realize that this was his plan all along and that he was just doing it for the extra hit points because now I take 14 damage and then only 1 to myself as I slowly turn back into the Isca that you have come to know and love ever since before he was inside of a tree trap.
That's the VHS box quote.
Exactly. So Isca is inside of this thing, and how do we feel about spellcasting? I don't think that restrained or blinded will hurt me from, say, bark skin on myself.
No, and so,
right?
Yeah, basically, you could probably cast anything that doesn't require... Well, I'll let you do it because basically your speed becomes 0 and you can't... So I could imagine you can push against things and move your hands. You just literally can't move. It's not that you're paralyzed.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. You can cast some nonsense in there.
Okay, yeah. So, but Isca would basically, slowly turn back into the slight Darrow that he was before. Barely the worse for wear, but would then, touch himself and mutter an incantation, gripping, his arcane focus, and his skin would grow and become like bark and fight off the acid maybe for a little bit longer.
That's perfect. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Next is the man, the myth, the legend,
Diggs.
the tree flipping Jeremiah Diggs.
Diggs for a moment is in the dust mouth. Over a year ago. There's a log sitting in front of him, and he takes his axe and he swings it down, cleaves the log in two. Again. Firewood. Now he's rising, facing off with this menace in front of him that's equally facing off against him. And he grips now his massive, absurdly massive shovel, this mauler weapon that really only he can properly wield. And he brings it up and down upon this twisted foe as if it's log for the fire.
Yes.
Let's give it a shot. Jeez Louise. He's distracted by the past, and the axe comes down on, maybe a piece of dead log, but it's dead. It doesn't matter. This thing, whatever this thing is, this thing can continue moving. This thing can continue writhing and thriving. In fact, Diggs feels like he hears it in strange draconic laughing at him, but that could just be his imagination. He's going to, oh crap. Okay, so we're kind of in a forested area, but we're also in a building area.
Yeah, like it's pretty split. Like this is the edge of Ashford going into like the forest of Faygrave, like the back alley into the woods kind of thing.
Diggs is going to make a run for it into a nearby building, which is, we'll say it's like a warehouse where all of the stuff used to brew the ale next door is kept. And so he is going to smash. Is there a door there?
Yeah.
Because if not, I'm going to make one.
Yeah, there is one.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So he smashes through a door instead of a wall, and he's going to book it towards a back door around the bend. His goal is to get away from this thing and like in a cool chase scene or something through this complex and then emerge out the other side where his friends are so he can be more of a help.
That's perfect. Yep. And then next, so what you see is this plume of smoke, this sort of fog is thick and it ebbs and flows around you all. It sort of encompasses and, sometimes it's up to your heels, sometimes it's up to your knees, sometimes it'll float up to your neck, and it's difficult to tell exactly where it's coming from. But these black crystals begin to come a little more to life. And by come to life, you see these black cracks start to get a little larger. And Kathleen, this would be something that you would begin to realize was familiar. At first it wasn't. But as the smoke shows these two black crystals, you can see that what this looks like is... No, wait, it can't be. These two black crystals begin to shudder and glow, and the black cracks get bigger and deeper and start growing toward each other. And what you realize is this looks like it's going to make an enormous gray door into the Wailing Gray. Ephraim, it is your turn.
Ephraim takes no notice of these crystals. It's not anything he has any sort of experience with, and honestly, he's sort of fixated on getting Isca out of this tree, and so he's going to continue stabbing at this tree with both weapons. So here we go. Here's main offhand. And as he's doing so, instead of like blood, there's like sap that is just spraying him, sticking to his armor and his face as he's doing so. Oof. That's a 4 plus 7, so 11 total on that first attack. I'm assuming that does not hit.
That just hits.
For real?
For
awesome.
real. That
okay.
just hits. That also saved Isca's bacon way earlier, too. The AC
Oh,
is
that's
11.
right. Okay.
It is
Yep.
11. Yes.
Okay, cool. So that'll be 10 damage on that first attack, and then here comes the Scrimblade.
Baby boy.
That one's not going to hit. That's 8 total.
So, describe to me what it looks like as you destroy this Treyarch Grey Eater with Isca inside of it.
Okay, so just stabbing at this thing, and Kathleen's helping me too with this hatchet. There's just sap and bark just spraying in all directions, and I see Isca's hand, his human hand, because you changed back, right, James?
Yeah.
So I see Isca's, or not his human hand, but his Darrow hand. This little hand is sticking up out of the innards of this thing, and I go, and the Scrimblade just slides back into my arm, and I kind of wince as I do so, and I reach in and I grab Isca's arm, and I'm pulling, and then I stick the blade in and kind of use it as a crowbar and just kind of wedge this wound open on this tree as much as I can. And I pull Isca out, and I imagine that Isca is just covered in like tree
Slime.
viscera, for a lack of a better term, just dripping with sap and whatever else is happening.
Phloem.
Yeah, whatever is happening inside this tree. And I pull him out and then kind of kick off from the tree. We both land in the dirt, covered in this sap, and we look up, and this Treyarch just kind of crashes to the ground and lies still. And I am kind of laying there. And I look over at Isca and I go, "Did you turn into a robot before the tree ate you?"
Yeah, and as you were pulling Isca out, his skin was turning to bark, and so and now I'm becoming a tree. How's it going? Cool.
And I just
cool
kind of
sword.
I reach over and pat you, Isca, and say, "We're gonna chat about what's going on after this." And I'm gonna stand up and look around. I still have movement, and see how's Diggs looking. Does anyone need help immediately here?
I don't think you would see Diggs. Not at this time. He's indoors somewhere else.
Okay.
He's running through a building.
I was gonna
like
say
it's
right.
Alien versus Predator.
You
the brewery
Casino
door.
Royale through the wall. I forgot. Okay, gotcha.
Where's your back door? We don't have a back door. Where do you want one?
Where
Where do you want one? So I mean, I might take notice of Garrick. I might catch his gaze, and I would call out and say, "Garrick, welcome back, man." At over the din of the battle.
Yeah, and Garrick would just kind of, now I think he would probably see Ephraim, but then more than anything, I think he would probably realize that, no, that really is Kathleen, now that he sees her with Ephraim. And he doesn't even say anything. He just kind of gives a bewildered look, and he's still running kind of towards you.
All right. Hey, Garrett. It's nice to see you again. I think Kathleen would just, a slight smile, it would just touch her eyes, but her attention's on the thing. Should I go?
Yeah, it's your turn. I figured you just roll right into it. Yeah, you
Awesome.
go nuts.
I think Ephraim would just, before I end my turn, Ephraim would say to Garrick, "Kathleen's back, and Isca can turn into a robot and a tree. So that's what you missed."
And a tree. All right.
Oh, it's too good.
Gosh, we'll definitely have to catch up later, but I have some, we have to get those crystals, and I think Kathleen would be reaching down, helping the guys up, and as she's doing that, she's going to cast the cantrip Bless, which she can do as a reborn of the Grey. Undying, yes, onto her friends in the area. I don't know if that's going to count for Diggs, though. He might be too far away. My range is 30 feet.
Can it work through walls? I think
I've-
it's less distance and more sight or something. You can't see him.
Yeah, he'd be inside the building doing his like. He's Danny Glover.
I would say no.
But everybody else would be blessed.
I'm still gonna cast it, I think. Well, I got mostly everybody here.
What does that give us?
Bless. All right. I can bless up to 3 creatures of your choice within range. Whenever a target makes an attack roll or a saving throw before the spell ends, which is up to a minute, the target can roll a d4 and add that number rolled to the attack roll or a saving throw.
That's helpful. That is very helpful.
And then, if possible, I would like to take an action surge, and
Sure.
I want to take out my longbow, and she is just going to shoot straight for that dwarf without.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see if I can find a dice.
They're all on the floor surrounding the dice tower.
Okay. That's it, right? That.
And then that one.
6, 2, 8, 12. 12 with the longbow.
So, narratively, that is not a hit in D&D, but I'm going to just narrate something different, but I don't want to confuse you, so I want to make it clear that you didn't do any damage. But you see, this dwarf now has its back to you. And you, like you say, you line up the sight, and then you can see the fog twirling around your arrow as it cuts through it. And it's silent just for a moment on the battlefield. And your arrow hits the dwarf right in the back. And then it turns, reaches its arm back, cracks the arrow, rips it out bloodlessly, tosses it to the ground, and then turns to you. We're going to open a gray door here, Kathleen. And you're going to lead us all in it.
No. And you could hear the panic starting to rise in her voice, and she looks fearful for a moment, and she tries to compose herself, saying, we have to break those crystals now. We can't let that door open.
Is there anything else you'd like to do mechanically on your turn? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like Ephraim would just look to Kathleen and say, "What do you mean? What's gonna happen?"
Can I do an investigation check? I
Sure.
got double perception
Oh, yeah.
on
Definitely.
investigation of other planes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let me know what your number is.
Huh?
Let me know what
you
the
roll?
number is.
It was a 7.
All up?
Well, yeah. Add
Well,
your
you-
investigation. You said.
Did you also say you had advantage on it?
It's a double perception.
Oh, okay. So
I'm gonna have to look.
double your proficiency? Because that means that you can add double what the plus is next to your investigation skill.
Got it.
Yeah, it should be 4 instead of 2.
Yeah.
So it'd be 11 instead.
Okay. So you're specifically trying to investigate the crystals?
Yeah, because I think she believes that it's going to be a door opening straight to the gray, and that's only going to lead to bad news.
Yeah.
So we're trying to confirm that.
Sure. So
Or,
what you'd be able to investigate is that specifically these crystals look like they're fusing to things from this realm and tapping into the gray, almost acting as a small conduit or a like a nail into a wall, like something that is like a pylon that pulls the gray and the living world together in this point. You would see that that's the same crystal that's been in these creatures' heads. And it looks like this is the same stuff that's jammed into these walls. And it seems like a conductor of the Wailing Gray almost. is probably what you can tell. And you could tell that just because you know what the gray feels like, and it feels like it's being pulled and surging through this crystal, and you can see the area getting more and more gray.
I think Kathleen would feel almost like this slow tug towards them, because that's where she's from now. She's from the gray, and it's like sucking the life from her. And as she sees the low glow or the bleakness, the black depth sucking in all the light, she's like, we have to destroy them. Those crystals are the key. And she's gonna take out her hand axes again.
Perfect. All right, Garrick.
And Garrick would say to Kathleen specifically, I'm so confused, but there was one back there. And Garrick would probably rush back to where he came from, actually. And I'm actually going to try to, oh boy. Yeah, I'm going to try to cast Eldritch Blast on the crystal that embedded itself close to where I was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so that's going to be a 23 to hit.
Oh, nice.
And, oh man, but I rolled a 1 on my D10. That's going to be 4 damage.
All right. So when
You're
you're
blessed, right?
Oh, yeah, you are blessed. Is that attack roll or just saving throw?
It's attack roll as well.
So
I hit on my attack roll, but I don't think it adds to damage.
yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. So he did hit. Yeah, but it was the damage, yeah.
The target can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the attack roll.
Yeah, but he hit.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Perfect.
But good call, because bless is the number one most forgotten thing once it's cast.
That's
true.
so true. Every game.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I would have. Wait, let's go back 3 turns. We all would have. This would have gone so differently. So Nate, I kind of want to narrate a scene to you, or like work with you to narrate a scene together, kind of touching on your patron a little bit. I feel like when the Eldritch Blast hits this crystal, a piece of it breaks off, but it's sort of a black flash. And you're standing in black nothingness. If you've ever seen like Stranger Things when Eleven like kind of goes into that place where she can scry, you're just alone and maybe your own reflection. And your patron warns you of something, but this place is blocking the specifics of the message. How would your patron communicate to you? What would they, she, he, it try to do to connect and break through this blackness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine. So my patron has always appeared as a woman, sometimes beautiful, other times just terrifying. Strange mix of the two. And so I imagine in this blackness, I actually see these just long fingers kind of prying through the black sky, ripping it apart at just a crack, and just kind of the voice sounds just like a ringing in my head, sort of whatever I hear.
I love that. Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, and I don't know. I don't know what I would hear. I mean, what is my patron trying to communicate? Or I could make a perception check, or maybe just narratively, you're saying it can't break through.
No. I think that it can break through, and I think that it's not as clear as you're used to hearing, and especially like the way you described it. I will definitely say that totally like pushes through. Your patron is very powerful. What you sense is the thing that you know deeply about your patron is that they are about growth. The very tree that grew from your crucifix proves this. And you just, you think back that, and you just sense, you can sense destruction isn't the answer. Growth and life is the answer. And you're back to right now, and you see that where you damaged the crystal with your Eldritch Blast, it has grown back twice as much.
Yeah, and I would just say to those around me, shaking, the blackness out of my head, yelling back to Kathleen and Ephraim probably, and maybe Isca. It only grew. Attacking it only made it bigger. Maybe we should heal it. I don't know.
Or maybe whoever's causing this, we have to find whoever's causing this and take them out.
Oh, probably that dwarf up there. Although you see my arrow didn't do anything. I think Kathleen would just give an annoyed sigh.
Ephraim looks to that dwarf, and this is the Scrimshander, right?
Yes,
Tim?
absolutely. 100%. Yep.
Ephraim holds his arm up, and the Scrimblade again slides out, and he says, "Let me give it a shot."
Doesn't that hurt all the time?
It hurts really bad, and I try not to do it.
Is it? Never mind. I'll ask later.
When all this is done, we're going to sit and we're going to have a conversation about what Isca's deal is, how he can do that, why you know so much about these crystals, Garrick, what you were doing, where Diggs is, and what he's doing.
Ephraim's got the minutes. He's taking down the minutes of the fight.
So I feel like my situation is the least of our problems right now. So I'm going to go...
Only one with a normal life.
I'm going to go try and kill that guy, and we'll see if it helps. I'll be right back.
And as it cuts to, when you say where Diggs is, it cuts to this scene as Diggs is running through this brewery, kicking over barrels and knocking over barrels. And one of these triarchs has followed him like straight through. And it was one of the sort of humanoid ones, but as it's like running, it's very fast. It starts to sort of like shift its vines and its roots, and it's now on all fours. It's, what were its arms are now much longer, and it's sort of like this gorilla creature now that's kind of just like rocking through the brewery, knocking over swill and also casks of rare, priceless wine from the Holific Church before Lightfall, like and things from Sphere, and the place is just soaked in alcohol. And one of those triarchs is closing in on you, Diggs, and it's just trying. And so I want to do something that you taught me, Barker. I want to play a game of creative tennis, and we're going to narratively do a chase scene. I'm going to say a word, and then you're going to say a word, and then I'm going to say a word, and we'll kind of go back and forth, and then wherever we end up, that's what happens.
Awesome.
Slick wood.
Diggs knocks over one of the barrels on purpose as he's leaping over it in order to stop the creature behind him.
Triarch barrels into the barrel, splitting it open, soaking it in this greasy Drogus alcohol, probably fermented from some sort of goalless oil.
Diggs slips at the corner. He wants to bank left into this hallway, but he slips on his own grease. He struggles to get up.
Creature slides past, raking, but misses.
Diggs gets up, turns around and attempts to bring his shovel down on the floor because he knows this place and he knows what is in the basement or what sort of hazardous thing. My mind was boiling water, but I didn't want to step to like boiling liquid where they're like
they're fermenting. Yeah, sure. This is Ashford, so that's definitely, so they probably have through some sort of arcanic means, because there are definitely people in this town who do that. I would imagine this is probably where they're brewing like the finest Zarfin situation. Like they are probably speakeasy status, where like everything underground is like this arcanic speakeasy, where it's like that's where they brew the illegal stuff.
Nice.
And it's bad if it's illegal in Dragongrin.
But anyway, there's boiling liquid down there and there's fire, and I imagine that this Drogus liquor could be very flammable, maybe. That's up to you, but that's what Diggs is going to do.
Absolutely, without question.
I don't know if you want to end the narrative bit right now. I'm okay with continuing some more creative tennis to see how I get out, but I think it might be cool to bring the shovel down on the floor and try to collapse the floor underneath this thing.
I think that's fantastic. So you give me a strength check as this thing tries to swipe at you.
God, these dice have been horrible so far. Come on.
Time for the penalty box, baby.
No, I know. Gotta use the right hand. Okay.
You're like, they're just unbalanced dice. I don't know what to tell
11.
You. Okay. So my strength check versus you. Okay. I will throw it to the room in terms of what to do. It is a straight tie. So like you hit an 11, which is definitely enough to break this creaky floor. But I was doing a thing where this creature was trying to sort of like use its roots or grab you. So maybe you both fall in.
Oh, I'd be so down with that. I think the rules say that nothing changes, but that is kind of boring and doesn't quite make sense in this fray like this. But I think we both fall into the holy crap.
I think
that would kill Diggs. Okay, I think we both fall into the basement. Wherever you land is where you land.
Yeah, and I think it's this, like I say, it's like an arcanic speakeasy, which is just like all these pieces of brewing equipment that are like Arkans and like Zarfin built and like with Drogus like turbo boosts and stuff like that.
Turbo
it would be
here.
So it would be, and both of you would take it. So it's not just you, but it's you would take falling damage, and it's a D6 for every 10 feet. Is that right?
Yep.
So we both take a D6.
A D6 minus, well, usually you can make an acrobatics check and subtract.
Go for it. I would love to see Diggs make an acrobatics check. Maybe he's more acrobatic.
No, he fails. He super fails.
Okay. Well, so, oh wait, rate of falling. You can fall a maximum of 20 D6, 5, 6. Yeah. So basically, 1d6 for every 10 feet to a maximum of 20, and you land prone. The creature takes 1. And so, yeah.
You want me to roll for Diggs?
Yes, please.
Diggs cracks his head on the side of a vat as he's falling in. He takes 6.
Dang, son.
Does he fall into the boiling liquid or does he fall adjacent?
I'm going to roll a d20 for that.
Oh, God.
It's just going to be a D.
Oh,
well,
man.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it like a death save kind of situation.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, he falls in.
Cracks his head, falls into this boiling liquid. Is that like 14 acid damage?
I don't think that the alcohol. No. I don't think the alcohol would hurt you, but I think you would drown if you're unconscious.
I don't think he's unconscious. He just smacked his head. But okay.
Like, I don't imagine it as being acid at that point, but it could be hot or something. Like,
boiling water. Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say, yeah. So boiling water, I would say you'd take probably at least another D4 of D4 or D6. And then probably every round you're in it.
That sounds good.
Killer.
And I think this probably counts as my turn as well. So I
Sure,
feel like
sure.
once we're,
Yeah. And I play initiative gymnastics. I think it's fun sometimes.
I love it so much. It makes sense situationally. I get it.
Cool.
I love it.
And then the up top though, we have one of these larger creatures still remains. There was one that was fighting with Diggs, and that now turns and re-enters the fray, sort of charging, following Isca and Ephraim. So like that sort of, as you guys all break free and you have your moments and you're running, this thing that was flipped over by Diggs and, smashed up and everything kind of gets back up on its feet and is racing back toward the fray and the scrims. And now the other Triarchs that do remain also begin circling now as they see you're attacking or making moves towards their leader. So while you're running, it would be Garrick, you would take, or they would take a swipe at you. One of the sort of humanoid ones that remains does a 16 hit you?
It does.
All right. You would take 6 slashing damage. Kathleen, what is your movement speed? Is it
Good old 30.
Good old 30? Okay, cool. So this thing can't quite catch you with where it's at, but it's running after you. Okay, and then this Scrimshander would turn, and it would see Ephraim that because you're not using stealth. You just said you're like running toward it. And so this Scrimshander, as you all run toward it, would say, sort of lift its hands, and then just, and these black dagger-like blades would start shooting out of it. Anyone who's within 30 feet to 60 feet, depending on how hard this thing went. This particular one is only going to be 30 feet. So would you say, Ephraim, you're about that close?
Yeah, I'd say I probably would be. I'm moving pretty quick, trying to catch up with
That's
him.
what I thought. And then what about you, Kathleen and Isca? I didn't know if you were also running toward this thing, or were you back where the other creature was?
Probably sitting back a little bit because she had the longbow out, so she's
Got it.
staying range
Perfect.
for the moment.
Yeah, I think same for Isca. I wouldn't have run quite yet.
Okay, so that is that's a 22 all up. That I'm guessing that hits you, Matt?
I would love to say no, but yeah, that absolutely hits me.
Oh, no saving
Nope,
throw. Huh?
Ephraim's wearing full plate, baby.
There is no saving throw to this one. Yeah, so you actually take 5 damage as some of these black blades, sink into maybe some of the parts of your armor that aren't quite as tight or something like that. Is there anywhere in particular that one of these hits you that really smarts?
Yeah, it takes out my other eye. No, I'm just kidding. There's most of them are kind of
got a
glancing.
one-up Kathleen.
Yeah. Most of them are sort of glancing, but there's one that hits my side and kind of sticks in between a couple of ribs. And so all of these crystals kind of come, hurtling past, and they're drawing these sort of lines. And this one sticks in, and Ephraim doesn't even really notice it. But he's going to feel it after this fight is over.
Perfect. All right. And that is the end of their turn. Isca, it is your turn.
So Isca remembers what was said about the door. I guess I'm going to ask you, the GM, if you meant something else, or if Isca should waste his turn trying to heal some of these Wailing Gray crystals.
That is exactly what I was getting at. That was not weird puzzle. That was hey. So the other thing is that you are a Silverwise, and you would be finely attuned to some of this stuff as well, because you're all about that stuff as well.
all about that base.
No trouble.
No, that's perfect. So
I'm all about that gray. No.
That gray. No.
Yeah, I
Something
thought.
else,
I
right?
tried.
No trouble.
Yeah.
I know. So he, Isca then, seeing everything transpiring and realizing, seeing the way Kathleen specifically reacted to the gray door opening, he would go up to one of these, or I guess with Healing Word, I have a little bit of a range. He would Healing Word from a little further away, one of these crystals, using his Silverwise instincts to try to get an idea of what's happening. Maybe he's heard of something like this before. I don't think he would have seen it.
Sure.
So a creature of my choice that I can see regains hit points. I don't know if you would like for me to roll or do something, but Isca is going to try and, maybe recite an incantation he's heard, or maybe read somewhere a long time ago, thinking he'd never be in a situation where he'd be closing a gray door himself.
Sure. So we can handle it this way. I will let you do full healing, the full max healing, if you choose to put your hands on it. I will let you roll for it if you want to do it at range.
Okay, I think Isca would know that, so he would touch it.
Okay.
I think that he would begin, in fact, as a part of being this Silverwise druid, when Isca almost drops into his druidic heritage in a sense, and he takes on the illusory appearance of an animal. So he's just become a robot. He turned his skin into bark, and now he's become like he takes the form of like a tapir, if you know what that is. And it's just sort of an illusory aura following him. So it's still him, and he's going, but you see this purple green outline
that's awesome.
Kind of following him as he walks toward, and to Isca, the battlefield fades away, and he begins chanting, an incantation, and he has gravestones tattooed on each of his fingers, and he's saying the words of the Silverwise, and begins seeing the veil begins to break a little bit, and he sees a little bit of the gray in this area, and almost as a wound, this door opening shows itself to him. He sees it bleeding, and he puts his hands on one of the crystals and, saying a final word and looking up, and as the purple gray aura of the tapir follows him, it shifts and almost begins to implode and explodes quickly right as he touches it, and does 9 healing to it.
Yeah, and what it does is it, whereas other things would be destroyed in terms of their pieces being exploded out, these literally just melt away. They just go in. So I want you to take 2 things. I want you to take a point of inspiration for that, and then I want you to take a d6 of necrotic damage for touching the crystal.
Awesome. Okay, so it's just 3, not bad.
Okay, and that seems to make the blackness start to sort of, it's not gone, there's still a crystal there, but the cracks and the colorless sections start to sink back into the crystal as it starts to get smaller.
I imagine there is a part of Isca that was scarred from some accident, and so there's metal flakes embedded in him, and as he's, this is happening, the damage comes from the bits of metal becoming superheated from the necrotic energy. You hear some searing flesh, as he's kind of holding it, watching as it sort of shrinks in.
So good. And then as we see that and it's shrinking in, we cut to black, and then we're underwater. But it's thicker than water. Diggs?
I think that because Diggs took so much of a turn previously, this would be just his. I think he would. I mean, can I take a turn?
I would have no problem with you taking a turn. It probably wouldn't be as long as the last one where you narratively, but I would let you take a regular D&D turn. Yeah,
I think that you're going to see You see, like on the surface, you see that the water is wavy, or the liquor, the alcohol is wavy, and then it kind of stops, and then you see a hand reach up out of it, splashing, grabbing the edge, and Diggs kind of hauls himself up and out of it, and then he will take D4 from the boiling, from the heat. He gets 2 more, and he falls next to the vat. And that's going to be his turn. Go ahead.
I would say for a second, as you look up, it looks like a well. And then you sort of come to.
Oh, shit. Nice.
And then you sort of come to, and you just like.
A well with bodies. He for a moment he looks around him and he sees dead bodies around him.
Dude,
in this
I
well,
almost
and he snaps out of it.
I almost did a thing where it's
crap.
like when your hand reached up, you were outside of the vat and you saw a hand reach up, and like from your own perspective, you were watching yourself, coming out of this well.
Yep.
Maybe a bunch of hands try to grab you and pull you down as you're getting out.
Yep.
Like that
spectral weirdness, just
all that stuff.
Just like memories.
Right.
Nothing mechanical, memories.
Right. Love it. All right, Ephraim. It's your boy, Effie.
So Ephraim is not running. He's walking with purpose, and anytime a Triarch stands in his way, he, without even looking, just slashes at it with one of his blades, trying to close the distance between himself and this this undead creature, this person that wields a scrimblade but is clearly no longer a scrimshander. And he's driven by some strange combination of a sense of duty to this faction that has taken him in and given him a purpose, but also the safety of his friends, these people that he's recently reunited with and people he's come to regard as family for all intents and purposes. So as he approaches this undead scrim, he, like you're saying, Tim, he makes no effort to hide. He makes no effort to conceal himself. And in fact, he sort of like holds his arms out, the short sword that once belonged to his mother in one hand, the scrim blade extended out of his wrist in the other. And he sort of has both arms outstretched, sort of like let's do this, you and me. I'm going to try and close the distance between us and attack this guy. I know that he's up on a mount, however, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out for me. If I can't reach him, I have an idea of what to do.
Yeah, so I don't want to tell you what to do, but like I would totally let you run up the mount, or like anything that style. Like if you want to try anything like that, that's totally fine. Or any other ideas you have.
Why don't I roll, and I can kind of decide what the attack looks like based on my roll, if that's cool with you.
That's beautiful.
Okay. So 2 attacks, main hand and offhand. Main hand is going to be 16 to hit.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry, I was so engrossed in your description that I scrolled away from it.
And while you're figuring that out,
what was
and
the
then
number?
The second one, 16 on the main hand and 15 on the offhand.
Both hits.
Both hit? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Let me roll damage.
Please do.
So the main hand is going to be 10, and the offhand, because I don't add my modifier, is going to be 4. So 14 total. This scrim he's on his mount, and I imagine that he's sort of like circling around at this point, because he's attacked me with these sort of barbed crystals that he's hurled at me. So he's circling around, and as Ephraim extends both arms out, he kicks in the sides of this Triarch that he's mounted on and charges towards Ephraim. And Ephraim has both arms outstretched, and his muscles are tensed. He takes a deep breath, and as he eases it out, he hears the like thunderous gallop of this tree arc coming towards him. He feels it in the ground coming up his feet. And at the very last second, Ephraim ducks down, comes up under the tree arc, and just brings up both blades and slashes them across this guy. I would love to try to dismount him if possible. I want to knock his ass off this horse, this tree arc, if possible.
I absolutely am okay with that.
Okay, so I sort of the Scrimblade, I described it as having these sort of barbs on it. Mm-hmm. I hook one of the barbs into his armor that he's wearing and just haul his ass off of the tree arc. The tree arc keeps charging in the direction that it was told to charge, and I drop this Scrim into the dust and sort of circle around him. And I've got the short sword and the Scrimblade, and I sort of spit and wait for him to stand up to fight him again.
That's so good. Take a point of inspiration for that, please. Ephraim, the teenage disaster. Kathleen, as you see this mount sort of like charging, maybe it's aimlessly charging toward you. It's not necessarily attacking you. It's as Matt said, it's just going in the direction it was told to go. It is now your turn.
Oh, holy cow. So we were talking to chat. Tim, would it be possible that Kathleen could bless a crystal or...
I love that idea. I love that idea. That's actually a really clever idea. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Especially after Garrick's suggestion and seeing that heal. It's like,
yeah, that's actually very, very cool. Very smart use of that. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So seeing this giant thing charge, for a moment Kathleen was worried. She saw Ephraim going at it, but he's just dispatching and making his way through all these beasts, and she's just like, her wide-eyed, and she just narrows them, and she's like, yeah, that's okay, that's what I expected. And then this big thing coming barreling at us. In the back of her head, she's like, where's Diggs? But she draws a longbow once more to try and shoot right out at this, while she's hopefully casually just kind of sidewalking to the side, because it keeps just charging in that same direction. But she's not going to stand right in front of it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. 17 to hit.
That certainly does.
All right, 10 for the longbow.
Dang. That's fantastic. All right, so this is definitely a crippling shot. And you could see that it is... Well, you tell me what it looks like, because that was a very powerful shot, and it is very damaging.
So she's looking down her one arrow as she's walking to the side, watching it, and she's kind of looking. It's all made up of vines, correct? More or less.
Yeah, like branches and tree. Yeah, exactly. Like
she's just she's looking very closely, looking for that weakness, and she sees this one gnarled knot of vine and wood that looks like it's just under so much strain on one of its hind legs, and so she aims just for that, and the arrow, instead of perfectly piercing it, shreds across it.
Love it.
So the side of the arrow just slices open that nice weak point.
Beautiful.
And it stumbles forward.
Beautiful. I love it. That's fantastic. And then, so in terms of like casting the bless, I'll give you the same option that I gave Isca. So like it can be more powerful if you actually touch it, or you can cast it from afar, and then I'll have you roll basically what a blessed die would roll, which would be like, I'll give you a D4 plus, whatever your spellcasting modifier is or something. So like It doesn't have to just be a D4. So I think at your level, it should be like a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, it's we didn't write that on her sheet because she is a fighter. So
Yeah. So
sorry.
Ability.
I totally
No. So
that's sorry.
has
I
one
forgot
thing.
she has bless because of that. So then just do this. Make it the just a D6 is if you want to do it from afar, and then if you want to touch it, I'll let you do basically a definite like 8.
Okay.
So you can roll a D6 or get a definite 8.
Definite 8. She's gonna
Okay.
touch one and bless. Try and bless.
Okay. So as you do it, the memories of the gray come back to you, and you see Rudy's face, and you remember what he told you specifically, and his mouth is moving, but you can't hear the words, and you can't remember the words, but your psyche, there's a part of you that is now remembering what he was saying to you, if you could just dig deep enough. And in this blackness, in this gray, you feel scared for a moment, but then comforted as you see Rudy purposefully walk deeper into the gray. And as he turns to you, he winks, and then he's gone. And you see that crystal shrink into basically nothingness, fall out of the wall or the tree that it's rooted in, and see its effects begin to diminish, though they're not gone. They're still there, and you could still see that they're still sort of surging a little bit. And now it is... Initiative Boy is on break.
Garrick's turn.
I just had to scroll way back.
Garrick.
I was like, dang, it's been a while.
All right. It is Garrick's turn.
All right. Garrick is now has just taken a hit from this this more humanoid looking. It's still a Treyarch though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and he, it is still kind of laser focused on the crystal. Now, the one that Kathleen just touched is not the one that Garrick hit, is it?
No, different. So, like, there's one over in a tree, that's Kathleen, and then there's one over in the building, and that's the one that you did, or sorry, Isca did, and that Garrick did.
Yeah.
The one, like, lodged in the building where Diggs is.
Yep, cool. Okay, so Garrick is going to, maintain his focus on that, and he will take an opportunity attack from this Treyarch.
Okay. You said it. Not me. 8.
8 to hit is a miss.
Perfect. Yeah, then it swipes after you, maybe tries to hit with a tendril and then doesn't.
Yeah, and Garrick just lunges after this this stone, and he's going to reach out and he's going to touch it and cast Armor of Agathis on himself once again. So he grasps his staff as he reaches out for this, bracing himself, and then I'm going to cast Armor of Agathis to give myself 5 temporary hit points, hoping that maybe, even though that's not the way this spell works, that the
that's dope.
stone can also take 5 temporary hit points.
That sounds awesome. And so what I'll do is, this feels very warlocky to me, so you tell me if you are interested in this. The 5 happens. I will let you give as many of your own hit points as you want to try to destroy the stone.
Yeah.
Okay. I will give 4 of my own as well.
Okay, so that's 9 total, right?
Yeah.
So that
now, here's the question, though.
Tell me.
when I cast this, do I get 5 hit points, or am I giving my 5 temporary hit points to the stone sort of thing?
I would
what
say it's up to you. So you have the 5 that you're getting, and then you have the ones you have left, and you can spend that pool however you want.
All right. Yeah. So I basically, let's just do this. Let's just say it's instead of, if I would get some too, then I'm just instead foregoing anything I would gain, and it's getting 10.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
That is the act of your patron breaking through. You see the blackness start to shred and dissipate, and where you're standing in Faygrave, that's normally this red and orange, turns this vibrant, verdant green, just, and you see these sort of like roots in these limbs, and even some of these tree arcs begin to sort of turn back to themselves as you touch this crystal, and it's just this, and for a moment, you don't understand what you see, but you know that its name is Drathok. And as part of the crystal sort of seeps into your fingers just a little bit and then fades back out, it dissipates and the door closes. And the crystal that Kathleen was working on begins to, as she's blessing it and continuing to speak these words, diminishes, and the crystals wither into nothingness.
That is awesome. And Tim, I imagine I might take some. Do I take necrotic damage from touching it?
You do. You take a d6.
Okay. All right, that's 3. All right.
And then it is now this Scrim who is facing off now with Ephraim. Do you think that you can come into Faygrave, new blood, and dethrone us? Do you know who we serve now? There's something bigger than the Scrims. You're on the wrong side, boy. Sort of tries to take a couple of different swipes at Ephraim.
Before he swipes at me, Ephraim flips the short sword around in a reverse grip and says, "You're the one whose ass is on the ground. Come on."
The Scrim hops up, which is spry for a dwarf, that classic, like, and then it's immediately this dance of blades. It's Scrimblade, it's short sword, it's this particular dwarf is actually like starts pulling like these black shards out of its skin, just like stabbing at you with it and stuff. So 2 attacks. It actually made 2 attacks. One of them all up was a 16. The other all up was a 14.
The 16 hits, the 14 does not.
Okay, so you get this Scrimblade in the shoulder for 6 damage.
Oof.
And then this, as it's like, it's got the Scrimblade, it uses its other hand to pull a black shard off of it and try to hit you, but you either parry or use your own Scrimblade, and it just does not make purchase. This other big creature is sort of the one that Kathleen just basically, like, Achilles tendoned, is just sort of like limping and sort of thrashing, doesn't quite know what to do. And in this moment, actually sort of breaks into the forest, just is out, just does not want to have anything to do with this. Even in its strange state of blight, is self-preserving. And then it is Isca's turn.
All right, so I think Isca is going to attack this bad guy too. I forgot what he was. The
the Scrim.
Scrim
The other Scrim, yeah.
yeah.
And he's in a
so he's
song
gonna-
of blades with Isca, with Ephraim. They're just doing this crazy dance.
And Isca is sort of trying to find a way to cut in. You know, they're moving, potentially twisting back and forth and fighting all over the place. And Isca is looking for his in here. He's going to see if he can, using a short sword. Oh, my die got stuck in the dice tower. Man, it's just been a day.
It
guys.
really did.
This dice tower.
What a
Oh, it's
day
not
we
just
have
me.
had.
Not-
Oh, like
I was
The
gonna
worst part
say,
is, though,
I
fought
am
for him.
dog tired. James lays his head on the dice tower.
Oh, what a day I have had.
And Isca to do so gets a 13. His bark skin moving around, maybe slowing him down, trying to get this scrim while they're in this flurry of blades.
So I will actually give you advantage on that roll because their attention is 100% on Ephraim.
So it didn't get any better. Because that's the thing. While I imagine his attention is on Ephraim, they're both moving so quickly that, like, not to paint Isca as not being good at it, but to really show
Sure.
off how good of fighters they are, right? It's the sort of thing where he swipes and they've already moved past. You know, it's as though they're dodging him. They don't even have to try.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to do? Oh, guess what, James? Are you counting your bless?
I didn't count my bless. Oh man, okay. And then my first one was a little higher. So let's see if I get a 3 on this. Oh, a 4 on the devar. Okay, so that does hit him. I didn't count the bless.
Hashtag blessed.
And then so that is for 4 damage. Where he's just, I imagine he swipes a few times and misses until finally just holding out his sword, waiting at him.
He's just like,
That's silly, but basically that's what he's going
it
for.
works, man. So, you cut into, and they're not expecting it, and it's wincing, and you see a little bit of the black crystal sort of fall off and crumble onto the ground, and then we go to the floor of the brewery.
Diggs rolls over, looks for his weapon. It's a little too far away. He looks for the thing that he's been fighting. Is it kind of writhing a little bit?
Yeah.
Is it getting its... Okay. It's probably standing up by this point.
Yeah, probably in the well. So you probably have that flash again of something like kind of rising out of the well, and maybe it looks like faces, screaming faces for half a second, and then as the alcohol drips off of it, it turns back into that wounded creature.
So it's in the vat still?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, all right. So yeah, flashes of faces is what Diggs sees. A woman in her late 90s. A young man, not yet 13. A hero of Lightfall. A Grimdal cousin. Over and over and over again, these different faces and visages, some of which he has no memory of. He sees the blue moon in his eyes. He spent the last year murdering hundreds of people in cold blood, and he does not remember their faces, but he remembers the faces of those in the well. And he enters into his rage. In his massive stature, he stands. He's not 8 feet tall, but you might be mistaken if you glanced at him now. He lets out a massive scream, and you see his canines extend only slightly. He dives into the vat. He's going to try to pin this thing under the alcohol and drown it or hold on to it for as long as possible.
Okay. Yep. All right. So I'm not sure if James just sneezed or dabbed, but I hope it was a dab because that was legit.
Okay, so I get... Oh, go ahead.
No, please, you go ahead.
I get advantage on strength checks and saving throws because I'm in rage, and I'm only able to get a. I forgot to add my thing though.
Oh, well, here we go. I'm going to do my strength check.
That's not terrible. That is a 14.
Okay. I couldn't tell if this is a 6 or a 9. It's a 6. And okay. I get a 9 all up.
You see, I mean, I don't know which maw or set of eyes this thing's got, but all of them are now underwater. And I'm going to grapple and just hold this thing there as long as I can. I want to, okay. I want to scream someone's name. But I go for Ephraim or Garrick or Kathleen or Isca even, despite our short term of knowing each other. And in my mind, I am yelling, Ephraim, Isca, Kathleen. But Diggs, if anyone who hears him, all you would hear is Calidus! Calidus! Calidus!
And with each scream, you're lifting the thing through the water and slamming it down, and lifting it through the water and slamming it down against the vat, and the vat starts to crack. And you're just Calidus, and you're just doing this until eventually there's this crack in the vat, and it just starts to like spill over. It doesn't fully explode out, but this, and as this greasy Drogus alcohol drains out of it, you could see that the lifeless body of this creature is just soggy timber.
Does it have one of them crystals?
It sure does.
Is it big?
It's about the size of probably like a gold piece, maybe, but definitely it's like a very jagged sort of looking. You know what it looks like? It looks like those ones you get on a field trip when you buy it in like the science center or whatever. It's like about that size.
Diggs, this is the first time Diggs has really noticed this. Diggs has not been outside, so Diggs almost instinctively reaches for it, but then stops himself. And that's the end.
Ephraim, it's all you, boy.
Ephraim is covered in little cuts, mistakes, missteps. 2 Scrimblades locked in combat is more like watching 2 dancers with choreography. Every jab is met with a parry. Every step is met with another step. And as we're circling, diving, leaping over one another, the bone of these blades, as they knock together, it's not like steel on steel. It sounds like the antlers of like rams crashing together. I'm going to make a couple of attacks here.
Awesome.
Main hand, short sword.
Okay.
That is 15.
15 just hits.
Okay. And offhand is nat 20. That's a crit, baby.
Oh, my God. Oh,
that's the first. Listen, I got these blood red D20s for Ephraim, and that's the first time I've rolled a skull on this, which is the 20 spot. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
That is dope.
The unfortunate thing is that's my offhand, so it's not going to be a ton of damage, but it's still cool. All right. So the first attack. Oh, max damage. So 13.
Dang, son.
And the Scrimblade, which I get to roll. Do you want me to roll twice, or do you want me to roll once and double it?
So
for the crit,
I would say for the Scrimblade, if you want to, and we haven't talked about this, but because you're not adding anything else, I'm okay with like max damage doubled or something. Like I want it to feel cool. I don't want it to feel like you're like, and I do 3 with my Scrimblade.
For sure. Okay, cool. Well, that'll be 12 on the Scrimblade then, because that'll be it's a D6, so 6 would be max doubled, so 12.
Okay. So describe to me what it looks like and what you say and what the interaction is as you end the life of this strange undead Scrimshander.
So if I can play off of the narration that you had last time, Tim.
Sure.
We're locked in this combat, and Isca's trying to get in there and help, and I almost sort of like kind of push Isca away, just sort of like, this is me and him. This is you can't get in between this. And there's a moment where Ephraim hears a voice. He hears this scream. It's muffled, almost like it's coming from underground, but it is the most animalistic scream he's ever heard that didn't come from an animal. Kaladas! Kaladas! And Ephraim, for a second, takes his eyes off of this scrim, and he feels the blade sink into his shoulder. This scrim blade. He looks up at this scrim. Does this dwarf say anything to me as he stabbed the blade into my shoulder?
He does. He'll say, "You will feel the bite, and you will love it. This is no Scrimblade any longer, and you will feel that until your dying day."
Ephraim eases out of breath and says, "That doesn't belong to you anymore." With his mother's short sword, he comes up and hacks the dwarf's arm off at the elbow, and this arm with the Scrimblade still extended goes flying end over end, spewing blood that is not the right color, I imagine. And as the dwarf is looking on in shock, the Scrimblade comes up through the bottom of his jaw, and Ephraim is standing there with the Scrimblade through his head. And he rips the blade out, and the dwarf topples backwards. And Ephraim would look to the wound in his shoulder, and there's just blood just pouring out of it. And he kind of sinks to one knee and uses his mother's short sword to support himself as he does so.
The dwarf lay in a pool of its own blood. Any remaining skulking Triarchs run if they can not be hacked down by your blades as they try to do so. And the fog slowly starts to lift. And it still lingers at your ankles, though it's not nearly as thick and deep. And you're now out of initiative order.
Diggs keels over. He's been kneeling over this thing, and he falls to his side, and he sort of falls asleep.
I think Kathleen would first to go over to Ephraim, and despite all of his cuts, she'd kind of give him a little slap on on the shoulder. I didn't know you were so good with the blade. I'll have to duel now. Kind of good at that now. It's been a while.
He retracts the Scrimblade into his arm, wincing as he does so, and he says, "Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll be good in like 5 minutes. We could do that."
Kathleen would want to help him up, and then look around, said, we gotta go find Diggs, huh?
I heard him. I swear it was him. I heard him screaming something.
Isca, I think, would, especially after all of the energy, being a Silverwise, very in tune with death and dying and the Wailing Gray, especially in Dragongrin, would get a feeling and would begin to almost be able to sense where Diggs was, potentially almost dying and having killed this thing. Of course, also having heard him, but there is a sixth sense, so to speak, a Silverwise has for death, and almost as though vultures were, circling Diggs to a normal person. Isca would begin worrying the worst and go looking for him.
And I'd love to follow along. And Ephraim, you coming?
I walk over and pick up the arm with the Scrimblades still extended and kind of like tuck it under my arm like it's my bag lunch. And I nod to Kathleen and say, right behind you, Garrick. I would look to Garrick.
And Garrick he gets up off the ground and brushes the dirt off himself. Says, yeah, we've got some catching up to do. And he kind of hobbles after you guys.
Diggs, what would they find if they made their way into this building, saw the trail of wreckage, and
they find the pit in the floor, just the floorboards that have been just torn up, and looking down into it, they would see Diggs laying on his back next to whatever a dead version of these would look like. In my mind's eye, it all just dies and turns into dead wood, just completely
that's great.
Bleached white dead wood. It's up to you whether that black crystal stays.
Yeah, the black crystal stays for sure.
Okay. And that's what you would see Diggs's body. Anyone with any sort of experience or good sight would see that he's breathing.
With some help, I think Kathleen would want to try and see if we can excavate him out of the pit.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long either. He's not too terribly. He just got weary. So all it takes is just a couple slaps to the face and he's back up standing. He says, "You heard me calling. Good. The rest of them, are they?" And he looks up towards the surface.
Ephraim holds up the severed arm with the Scrimblade extended. We got him.
Tim, what's your favorite cuss word in Dragongrin?
Bleaking.
Bleaking shit, Diggs would say. And his gaze would fall from that arm to your own arm, Ephraim. And he eyes you curiously with an eyebrow raised. He doesn't say anything.
Neither does Ephraim. Just as he's not going to ask you who Calidus is yet, you're not going to ask him about the blade from his arm.
He says, I'm glad you heard me calling you.
Oh, we heard you calling all right. And Kathleen would look at her fellow Silverwise.
Isca, realizing, that Jeremiah was not... He would realize that Jeremiah wasn't what drew him here, but the curling and dying, almost ash white wood now that was the creature with this black crystal. And he would fixate on that and begin looking at it. Is it inert if he picks it up or tries to touch it? Does he feel anything from it?
I would imagine that in death, with the crystal having fallen out of it, you would, especially as a druid, you would feel it as just what would be the normal corpse of a Triarch, but just petrified and old, as though it was decades. As though
this crystal, is it like... Yeah.
It's the same sort of crystal you recognize from touching out there. It's just smaller. And it's, still jagged and all that. It's just laying there on the floor surrounded by that, that hooch. But it's just there.
And Isca would, mention to anyone that wasn't sure or didn't see, he maybe would ask Kathleen if she knew anything about, they seemed to be speaking to you, and they were opening a portal to a place you had been. What's this all about? Do you know?
I've seen them, but my master made me very cautious to be going around and messing with those things. Nothing but trouble from them. They were going to open a portal to the Gray. I don't know where, but that's the only option. And I gotta say, Garrick, that was a good call. I'm glad that healing spell. We needed that. That was excellent.
Yeah, you all did very well. Now, where did you come from? What's this about your master?
In the Wailing Gray, he was this crazy Silverwise, and you can see that her face looks fond as she remembers these good memories. He was a wild man who devoted himself to the Gray. It's very important. It's a big deal, and he wanted to really be a part of it, but he did start to go a little crazy. But before he was too far gone, he helped actually guide me, and just the scripture of the Silverwise really give me some solace, kept me sane. And he was a good man. He's no longer with us, though. Well, he might still be in there. Bastard can't die.
I'm glad you're back.
Glad to be back.
So, Kathleen, you're the foremost expert, as you're the only one of us that's been there. What exactly were they trying to do, and what would have happened if we hadn't stopped them?
I don't know. I can't say there's much politics in the Wailing Gray, as far as I remember. Perhaps it has to do with that guy, Dracoth, the usurper.
You mentioned something about dethroning him.
Yes, said that he has to be stopped.
I would look to Isca. That was one of the scrims. I'm assuming one of the ones that was stationed here. He wasn't a scrim anymore. He said he served someone else. I'm assuming the other one is here too, and we're going to find him in a similar state.
And Isca would nod, remembering the run-ins he had with these guys, not really his friends at all. They kind of looked down on him. So being a Silverwise, not really wishing that on anyone, but realizing we'll have to be careful because, this is something else entirely.
And as much as I'd love to sit here and chat, there were marrow up in that tavern, and they're probably going to be spilling out any moment, try and figure out what happened. Unless we want to attract a bunch of unwanted attention, we should probably go.
And we're on the edge of town, correct?
Yes, of Ashford up here in the overlay. You can see there's kind of like this huge, and you're in the shadow of this huge burnt tree in between that, the forest, and then the city. There's roads on either side of you.
Awesome. I think Kathleen would stand up and with a sigh say, if we have a little bit of time, I can find us a safe place to hunker down. She being she is road worn, and if we wait an hour, I can scout and find a nice place to rest. Your first hit die is always max. You'd have advantage on saving throw and skill checks in harsh weather and terrain. And I'll have to check, but there might have been something about not being surprised.
That's great. So then if you wanted to, then basically, Kathleen, you and Isca would know Faygrave better than anyone else. And so I would let you narratively just sort of, say that, hey, I could find us a safe place. And so if there's anything else anyone wants to like do or have a character moment or kind of end with, let me know. But if not, I think what we would do is probably, that would be a good place to say, Kathleen says, I think I can find us a safe place. And is there anything you would do as she starts to walk away, down the road? Is there anything any of you would do before we sort of fade to black?
I think Ephraim would just, he would pull that letter that was delivered to him out of his armor, look at it for a second, and then kind of shake his head like, no, now's not the time, later. And he would fall into step behind Kathleen.
Diggs just recently, this day, met with a festier at a market stall who he paid a favor in exchange for potentially giving him clues to repair the lycanthropy that inflicts him fully. Mm-hmm. I think that the town is probably dispersed, right? Is this like a localized thing just for us, or was the entire town of Ashford attacked?
So I think so. When it started, the whole town had kind of like come out, and there were NPCs there. But then the way the combat played out, it felt really cool to just focus in on your party. So I think retconning it would probably be like they probably stayed back because this isn't stuff they would get messing with, So I would say they're probably in their bunkers, in their like safe rooms and stuff like that,
or like hightailing it out of town,
or hightailing it out of town. Yeah.
We also talked about how, like, you and I don't know what that first favor is that Diggs offered, but we can figure it out in the future. So he'll think about that favor, think, I'll be back, and he'll follow Kathleen.
That's perfect.
And Garrick would probably kind of sidle up alongside Diggs and go to kind of like put his hand on Diggs's back and then kind of pull back, realizing he's just sopping wet, and say, I need to find you a river or something.
This place is plenty full of them.
It's good too. He's starting to smell.
I could wring out this shirt. I could wring out this shirt and have a full round for all of us.
Oh gosh, it's a big shirt.
Don't tempt me. We'll save that treat for later, I say as I slap his back.
Isca would sort of, as they were walking, sidle up next to Garrick, kind of casually, just walking along, a little bit of silence, maybe, look up at him in a way a couple of times and finally say, hey, so I'm Isca. I was the one that turned into the robot and got eaten by the plant. What's your deal?
What's your deal?
So I think, would I have met Isca in session one? Well, not session one, but anyway, our first reset.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, you would have met him. Okay, yeah.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't know you super well yet, though. Definitely.
Then more likely he'd say something about you showing up at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in hindsight maybe terrible timing, but probably for the best.
Well, appreciate the help, having been someone in getting dissolved by acid. Anybody, he doesn't mind who helped him out, really.
and in Faygrave, just for today, it seems a little calmer. And maybe because of Garrick, it seems a little greener. And maybe because of all of you, it seems just a little safer. But as we all know in Dragongrin, and in Faygrave especially, that won't be for long. And that's where we'll end it.
Great game.
Killer combat, everybody. That was so fun.
Yeah, that was great.
That was cool. A lot of fun. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video. We do have a Dragongrin miniature Kickstarter. I saw Matt was mentioning in the chat.
I was spamming that chat, baby. If I wasn't
so
a mod,
glad.
I would have got banned from your channel.
If you enjoy Dragongrin and the Marrow and some of even these like heroes that maybe are in Faygrave, you should check out the Kickstarter that we're doing in conjunction with Westphalia. And we'll go ahead and I'll let everybody do a quick exit and then we'll end. Starting with the person below me in the overlay, Barker.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Hi, everybody. I looked too far down. I forgot my camera's up here. Hi, everybody. My name is Barker. I really love playing Jeremiah Diggs or Yargel, codename Jeremiah. Really excited about exploring his falling out with the Undying Light and his lycanthropy that he's in the process of fixing. I am over at patreon.com/inspirethestory, and I highly recommend you come on over and check out and see what we're about over there. I see a bunch of my patrons here in the chat, actually. The Dungeon Mother is here. A Night Girl is here. Cole is here. I think it just those three. But thanks for jumping in here. This was a lot of fun. And if you're unfamiliar, head on over to that site and see what we're about. Thanks, Tim.
Absolutely, man. Highly recommend it, too. Very, very inspirational stuff. I definitely would check it out. I'm a patron. So, Nate, speaking of patrons and warlocks, Nate.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nate, and it was good to be back. I'm sorry to miss last session. And you can find me on YouTube at WASD20, and I make maps and D&D videos and stuff like that.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. It's great to have you back, Nate. All right, our resident teenage disaster, Ephraim.
Teenage disaster. Hey, everybody. I'm Matt. I also make videos sometimes, but mostly do game streams. And if you liked what you saw here tonight, we've got Provokers happening next week, which I'm very, very excited about. That's happening on Wednesday. So definitely check that out on the Fistful of Dice channel. I'll be spamming the link all over the place here in the coming days. And I also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/MattClick. And I'm actually going to be playing some Ironsworn over there tomorrow morning, which I'm really excited about. So thanks everyone for watching. This was a great game. Tim, awesome combat. It's so fun to try out the Dragongrin mechanics that we helped write. And as Ephraim, it's always good to just violently murder a guy, which I got to do. So thanks for letting me live out that fantasy, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Totally.
Hang on. I'm going to pass it on over to James.
Whoa. Oh, I did it the
Other
wrong way.
You did it the wrong way.
You did it on the wrong side.
Oh, no. You doofus. You ruined it.
I lost it. It flew right past me. I am James. Yeah, this was really awesome. I'm the other. I'm actually now 1/3 of Tabletop Terrors with Tim, the GM, and Jeff Doty. We make some cool videos. We're gonna put some more on the channel. This was a lot of fun. Playing in Dragongrin is really cool, and getting to finally use and see some of the little touches, like the I rolled on a roll table of druids and how my power manifests, and it's that there's the aura of an animal following me or something to that effect, and it was just so easy and seamless to put it right in and make me feel more like a druid. So it was really cool to use some of those little things that just really drove the tone of Dragongrin home.
Awesome, man. That's really cool. Awesome. And then finally, last but certainly not least, Kathleen or Cassie.
Hi. So yeah, I'm Cassie. Kathleen is such a fun character to play. I'm so glad I get to explore who she is again with Dragongrin. And I'm actually so stoked. I'm working on some art for her. So next round, hopefully we'll have something cool. Any other cool art updates you can find on Instagram at cassie.r.art. And I don't post too often, but I'm sketching some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Cassie, your art has just really evolved into some really awesome stuff, and I can tell that you've been doing a lot of art because of how it just the shading and the everything is just fantastic. The sketch of Kathleen you have, even from the last one from a month ago, is totally awesome. So anyway, yeah, go check that out for sure.
They're so different.
Totally.
I'll be sure to post the difference.
That's actually a great idea. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, everybody in the chat. It was a lot of fun having you hanging out with us, and this is really, really the game I've always wanted to run, and I have the best players. I really do. Thank you so much. I'm going to end it with a Tabtarian toast. I don't know if anybody else has anything left, but I have a big old cup, so I have plenty.
I got backwash English breakfast.
There you go, baby.
Let's go.
James,
I'm going to pretend there's Mountain Dew in here.
A scrim on my cup.
Yeah,
Not
you do.
actually Mountain Dew, but an incredible simulation.
Parker, I've got the
That's
same, man.
Scrub.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, is that English breakfast?
It is.
You cannot beat English breakfast.
I'm down. I got to get some English breakfast. James, you want to start it out?
Sure. May you mend the first break.
May you kill the first snake, and may you conquer.
And may you conquer everything you
undertake. Delayed slancha.
Gug, 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 gug.
Glug glug.
I have to suck from the tea bag here because
I'm not
Kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
I'm not cutting the stream until I see some.
Slancha.
That just reminds me of
Hang
getting
on,
my
go
wisdom
s-
teeth
go-
pulled right there.
Barker's
Check
going to
out
post a video to his
the fans.
Patreon. Yeah.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll be back. Check out Provokers and everything else next week. Catch you later.